My name's Emma Black. I'm 17 and I live in a white house with a pool in the suburbs of LA. That pool hasn't been changed in 3 years. There's a thin layer of dead leaves floating on top. My dad keeps saying he'll clean it in the spring. 2 springs have come and gone. The pool's still that same murky color. My dad, Richard, is a well-known real estate lawyer around here. He leaves every morning in his navy suit and walks through the door at 7 on the snot. My mom passed away 3 years ago from an illness. It was October 12th. I remember because that was the day the ginkgo leaves outside my window had all turned golden. After that, it was just me and my dad in this house. He's crazy busy with work, but every weekend he makes time for breakfast with me. He makes my favorite sunny-side-up eggs, with the yolks still runny. He always remembers to put half a spoon of sugar in my coffee, never more, never less. He's the person I trust most in this whole world. Before she passed, she held his hand and said, "Take care of Emma," and he promised. He's been keeping that promise ever since. For 3 years, he didn't date anyone, never came home late, and I never found food in the fridge that wasn't ours. He's the kind of guy who treats being a dad like a full-time job. 3 months ago, he started coming home late. The porch light used to go off at 7, now it stays on till 9:30. And for the first time, I heard him on the phone with that little laugh in his voice. He started smelling different, some sweet, floral, fruity perfume that was nothing like Mom's old cedar and bergamot scent. He'd space out while frying eggs and let the edges burn once in a while. He got himself a light blue shirt with a crisp collar and new cufflinks. I didn't ask, because I figured he deserved to be happy again. He even started wearing a thin silver bracelet on his left wrist, right where he used to wear his watch. It sat right over that blue vein on the inside his wrist. When he sat on the couch watching TV, he'd fiddle with it with right hand, over and over, like he was getting used to a weight that didn't quite belong yet. Until yesterday afternoon, I came home from school, pushed open that white door, and there were 2 extra pairs of shoes in the entryway. One was my dad's old leatherers, the other a pair of nude strappy heels with the price tag still half stuck to the sole. The hallway mirror reflected the living room couch, and there were 2 people sitting on it. One was my dad, in that new light blue shirt. The other woman was leaning against his shoulder, her finger hooked around his cufflink. She turned her head and smiled at me. That little curl at the corner of her mouth, the way her eyes crinkled, that tiny brown mole on the right side of her chin. I knew that face. How could I not? Chloe Harper, my Deskmate from freshman through junior year, my arch nemesis for 3 solid years. She stuck her chewed gum under my chair cushion, shoved curse note papers into my desk, and my gym socks with soaking wet rags. She called me Nerd Black for 3 years. All the guys in class would laugh along. One day after school, she cornered me behind the gym, slapped me across the face, and said, "You think you're special because your dad's got money, your mom's practically dead, and you're still showing up to class? I'm alive. My mom's gone, and she's sitting here, with a ring on her finger now. Not a big one, but it caught the chandle light for a second, like a needle tip that'd been planted in advance." My dad stood up, rubbed his hands together. "Emma, you're home? This is Chloe. We've been seeing each other for a while. She's going to be living with us from now on." When he said that, he glanced at her, and there was something in his eyes I'd never seen before. Not guilty. Something almost childlike. He was hoping I'd say it looked nice, like a kid holding up a lumpy clay pot, waiting for someone to tell him it's beautiful. Chloe took a step toward me. She's half a head shorter than me, her voice all sturdy sweet. "From now on, we're family," she said. But the way she lifted her chin always made it feel like she was looking down on me. She reached out and patted my shoulder. Her nails were painted a pale pink, trimmed neat and perfect. Same as in high school, she always took better care of her nails than I did. I stood there frozen, my backpack strap slipping off my right shoulder, dangling at my elbow. The living room was dead quiet except for the floor clock ticking away. I looked down at her hand, the same hand that once locked me in the shower room, slapped me across the face, now wearing a diamond ring, resting on my shoulder. So light, like nothing had ever happened. I looked up. My dad was standing behind her, and his eyes were pleading. "I'm gonna go put my bag away." My legs were shaking, and my palms were all sweaty and slick as the banister. Behind me, Chloe's voice carried, not loud, not quiet, just loud enough for me to catch it. "She doesn't seem too happy." My dad answered, "Give her some time." I walked into my room and closed the door. The lock clicked. I slid down against the door until I was sitting on the floor, my back against the wood grain, the cold seeping through my thin school uniform. I stared at the ceiling. There was this long, thin crack running from the light fixture to the corner of the wall. 3 years and nobody'd ever patched it. What gave her the right to walk in my home, to sit in my mother's spot, to look at like that, like she was saying, I win? Then I remembered something. I had a recording on my phone from 3 years ago. That day behind the gym when she slapped me, I hit record. I was gonna take it to the principal, but I never did, because back then nobody would have believed me. She had better grades, her dad was buddies with school board member, and her smile was way more convincing than my tears. That recording had been sitting in a hidden folder for 1009 days. I unlocked mine, found the file. File name was 1012, the date. The times mine was exactly 3 years ago today, the day my mom died. Next to the play button, it showed the length, 4 minutes and 17 seconds. Emma Black. What are you crying for? Your mom's practically dead and you're still coming to school? You really think she can even see you? I stopped the recording and pulled off my earphones. From downstairs came Chloe's laugh, bright, victorious, exactly as I remembered it. I sat there in the dark. The phone screen lit up my face. I didn't cry because I knew I was holding something heavier than all her smiles put together. I played it one more time, then locked the screen. I held the phone in my fist, face down against my thigh. Outside, the sky had gone completely dark. Downstairs, I heard dishes clinking and another round of laughter. I sat in the darkness, perfectly still. I didn't go down for dinner that night. My dad brought a tray up. He knocked 3 times, each knock evenly spaced, like he was testing a machine he wasn't sure was still working. I opened the door. He was standing there with a white tray, pan-seared salmon and blanched broccoli. He was wearing that old apron. Mom's blue and white stripes, with a scorch mark on the strap from where it touched the pan rim.
Emma, you need to eat.
I'm not hungry.
Are you mad at me?
I'm not mad at you, I said. I just don't know her. I just don't her. He was quiet for a moment. The hallway light was behind him, casting deep shadows across his face.
Her name is Chloe. She's 24. She's an account manager at a PR firm downtown. We met at a business dinner. She's lively, outgoing, and she's different from how this house used to feel. But before your mom passed, she held my hand and told me to start over.
Stared at that salmon. The skin was crisp, edges slightly charred. He knew exactly how I liked it. He remembered my taste, my schedule, every little corner of me that needed looking after. But he didn't know who she really was. Dad, do you actually know her? Do you know what she used to be like?
She told me she wasn't very popular in school, that people picked on her.
I almost laughed. She told him she got picked on? Her? I looked down at my own clasped fingers. Did she ever mention that she picked on other people? My dad frowned, that vertical crease between his brows like it'd been carved with the back of a knife.
Emma, let the past be the past. She was young back then. People change.
He put his hand on my shoulder, his warmth coming through my uniform cotton.
Can you try to accept her? For me, just once?
I looked up into his eyes. They were the same as before Mom passed, slightly bloodshot, tired from sleepless nights, and in his pupils I could see the lamplight and my own face. He's given me 17 years of whole, complete love. All he wanted was someone to share a meal with, to talk to in the living room, to turn this house from an echo chamber into a home. Could I really say no to him? I'll try, I said. Not for her. For you. He's my dad. He smiled. The wrinkles around his eyes smoothed out, like a crumpled piece of paper being flattened. He bent down and pulled me into a hug. His chest was warm, but his shirt carried that unfamiliar floral smell. Sweet, like an overripe melon being cut open. I didn't push him away, but when he let go, I glanced down at my phone. The recording was still there. I hadn't deleted it, because I knew one day I'd need it. I turned the phone over, face down on the desk. The next morning, when I came downstairs, Chloe's already at the table. She was wearing a pale pink silk robe, her hair loosely pinned up with a torch cane clip. She was sitting in Mom's old spot, with her back to the window, the coffee machine on her left, and that 10-year-old pottix plant on her right. There was a cup of coffee in front of her, with a pale pink lipstick mark on the rim. My dad was at the stove frying eggs, humming an old tune, the same one he used to hum when Mom was alive. A slow melody, like summer night air drifting through a screen door. I stopped at the bottom of the stairs for 3 seconds. It felt like someone had taken our old family photo out of the frame and pasted another woman's face over my mom's, crooked, with the edges still peeling. I walked to the table and pulled out a chair. The legs scraped against the tile with a short squeak. Chloe looked up at me with that familiar half smirk, the exact same one she'd wear every time we passed in the high school hallway. "Morning, Emma." "Morning." My dad brought over the fried eggs and set them in front of me. The edges were slightly burnt, not as perfect as usual.
How about we all go out for dinner tonight? Chloe booked a new Italian place.
Apparently their truffle pasta is amazing. Okay, I picked up my fork. Chloe nudged my dad's knee under the table. Their eyes met for a second, that sticky, exclusive kind of look, like a membrane only they could see through. I dropped my gaze and focused on cutting my egg. The yolk spilled out, spreading slowly across the white plate into a half circle. It hit me then, the first day of freshman year, when Chloe deliberately knocked my lunch tray out of my hands in the hallway. Ketchup splattered all over my brand new white uniform blouse, leaving a dark red stain. She stood in front of me, arms crossed, smiling as she said, "Oops, sorry, nerd." Everyone in the hallway laughed. She stood right in the middle of that laughter, chin up, like the star of her own little show. Now she was sitting here, in my mother's seat, exchanging that we're together look with my dad. Like she'd actually become the lady of this house. Like I was the one who didn't belong. I put down my fork. "I'm done."
My dad blinked. "You've barely had 2 bites."
"I've got a test this morning. I want to get to school early to review." I stood up and grabbed my bag. As I was changing my shoes by the door, Chloe's voice drifted over from the living room. "She still does adjusting. Don't push her." I bent down to tie my laces, had to knot them twice. My fingers felt stiff. I strained it up and pulled the door open. The morning air hit my face, cool and damp, carrying that fresh smell of dew evaporating off the lawn. I stood on the porch and took a deep breath. I pulled out my phone and opened the recording. 3 years ago, Chloe, her voice like a rusty nail. I paused it, moved it out of the hidden folder and onto my home screen. The file name sat there, short and quiet. Then I texted my best friend Leah, "Family dinner tonight. Can you come?" She replied fast, "You always said your family dinners were off limits. This time I need you there." I paused, then typed another line, "Bring a quarter." 6 p.m. The Italian place had dim lighting, with tall white candles lit on every table. The flames burned straight up in the still air, flickering only slightly whenever someone came in or out. I was in a navy blue dress, sitting across from Chloe. She wore a tight red number with a plunging neckline, her collarbones catching the candlelight, a thin gold chain around her neck with a tiny disc pendant. I couldn't tell what it was made of. My dad sat next to her, his right arm draped over the back of her chair, fingers dangling, occasionally brushing her shoulder. I sat across from them, like the rejected candidate at the far end of a long interview table. Chloe ordered the most expensive wine on the list and told the waiter to decant it for 40 minutes. She said it smooth and natural, like a line she'd rehearsed 100 times. My dad watched her with something I'd never seen on his face before, not tenderness, but a kind of delighted surprise, like he'd bought what he thought was an ordinary old chair and turned out to be an antique. He was so captivated by her, he didn't even notice the act. "So, Emma, how's school lately?" "It's fine." "Any cute boys you like?" "Nope." "So what do you do with your friends?" "Go to the art room. Draw." "Still so boring." Those 3 words, "still so boring," sliced into me like a tiny knife, hitting every memory of the past 3 years. She remembered. She knew everything. She was just pretending she didn't. My dad didn't catch the weight of those words. He was scanning the menu.
Emma loves truffle pasta, right?
He looked up at me. I nodded. He remembered what I liked. That warmed me a little. But Chloe cut in. I remember she never ate pasta for lunch at school, said the sauce would stain her textbooks. She's such a diligent kid. My dad smiled. He reached over and covered her hand with his, palm against her skin, the kind of casual, instinctual gesture that lovers do without thinking. She's been like that since she was little. Takes everything seriously. I grip my knife and fork. My fingers tighten on the silver, knuckles going white. She was using my past as small talk, playing the role of someone who knows me in front of my dad, but every single thing she knew about me, she'd learned through mockery. Dad, do you remember freshman year when I told you someone was bullying me at school?
I remember you mentioned it, but you said you handled it.
Yeah, I did handle it. I recorded it. Her smile didn't drop, but her fingers on the fork paused. The tines hovered over that strand of pata for half a second. Recording? Yeah. I reached into my bag. 3 recordings. First one, talked to her freshman year in the locker room. She and 3 other girls locked me in and yelled at me for 7 minutes. Second one, in the cafeteria. Your mom's practically dead and you can still eat? Third one, she slapped me and said, your dad's gonna find out you're worthless eventually. My dad's fork dropped onto his plate with a clatter. He looked at me, then at Chloe. Chloe's smile was still there, but it had frozen. Like the strings behind a mask had been cut. Emma, what are you talking about? I'm not making this up. Dad, do you want to hear it? The candle flames flickered in that instant, as if someone had walked past and stirred the air. My dad didn't answer, but the hand he'd placed on Chloe's, slowly, irrevocably, he pulled it away. Just that one movement. For a flash, I saw something in Chloe's eyes, not anger, not hurt, fear. My dad was quiet for a long time. The candles had burned down a bit, white wax dripping onto the silver, hardening into translucent drops. He looked at my phone, then at Chloe. His gaze lingered on her face for a few seconds, then slowly shifted away, settling on that spreading water stain on the tablecloth. Chloe had knocked over her wine glass. She hadn't even noticed.
Chloe, is what Emma said true?
Chloe put down her fork. Her smile had changed, brief, dry, like the sound someone forces out when backed into a corner. Richard, listen. You know how high school girls are. They blow things out of proportion, hold grudges, make things up. She looked at me, and something in her eyes cracked for a second, but she caught it fast. Emma, I sat next to you for 3 years. I'm not saying we never had disagreements, but that was forever ago. I'm with your dad now. We're family. He wants us to get along. I didn't answer her. I pushed the phone a little closer. The edge of the case scraped against the white tablecloth with the faintest whisper. Dad, just hit play, then decide. Dad, just hit play, then decide. My dad stared at that phone. His fingers moved on the table, thumb lifting, then dropping back down. He looked at me for a long, long moment. The candle flames danced in his pupils like 2 tiny, restless sparks. There was something in his eyes I'd never seen before. Not anger, not disappointment, pain. A deeper kind of hurt, because he knew I was the one who'd been hurt. He was remembering that afternoon 3 years ago, when I curled up on the couch, clutching my backpack, telling him someone was picking on me. He'd been on the phone with the hospital. Daddy, someone's been picking on me. He hung up and asked,
Is it serious?
I said, I can handle it. He nodded and said, just stay away from her. He didn't push, because back then Mom's medical bills covered the whole desk, and he didn't get home till past midnight every night. He figured kid stuff would just blow over. Now all of that was sitting right across from him, wearing a ring, a red dress, calling his name, exchanging that sticky, intimate look with him.
Chloe, he said. His voice was soft, but every word like a nail into wood. You should leave.
Richard,
I said leave. I'll settle the bill. You go. Emma and I need to talk alone.
Chloe stood up. As she grabbed her purse, her elbow knocked over a water glass. Water spilled across the tablecloth, spreading into a dark stain. She didn't wipe it up. She stood there and looked at me, her lips twitching, like she wanted to say something. But in the end, she only got out one word, fine. She turned. Her heels clicked against the tiles, one after the fading, until the restaurant's low chatter and clinking drifts swallowed the sound. My dad sat across from me. He rested his forehead in both hands, fingers through his hair. Through the gaps, I could see the faint blue veins standing out on his forehead. The restaurant was quiet. At the next table, someone laughed softly. Glasses cling like crushed ice. I didn't play it.
I know what you said. I believe you.
That was when my tears finally fell, quietly, one after another, dropping onto the white napkin in front of me, darkening into small gray spots. It wasn't about the hurt anymore. It was the relief of being believed. I sat there in the candlelight, looking at my dad's tired, flushed face, and I suddenly felt that this house, broken as it was, hadn't fallen yet, because he was still on my side. He always had been. He always would be. That night, he didn't drive straight home. He pulled into the community park parking lot and killed the engine. The engine's vibration faded. The Deskmate lights dimmed, and all that was left was the orange glow of the street light slanting through the windshield. He was quiet for a long time. I watched his profile. The street lights his jaw and the gray hair at his tempes, the gray that had started showing up the year Mom got sick.
Emma, why didn't you tell me all of this sooner?
I did, freshman year, I told you. You said someone's picking on me. You didn't mention the slapping, the thing she said. Because back then, Mom's medical bills covered the whole desk. You came home after midnight every night, sometimes still smelling like the hospital. I didn't want to make it harder on you. He didn't answer right away. His right hand rested on the steering wheel, his thumb running back and forth over the leather rim, worn shiny from years of that same habit.
I thought you were just having a hard time fitting in. I figured if you stayed away from her fine. You never cried in front of me, so I didn't know how bad it was.
I know. So I don't blame you.
You should.
I don't, I said, because you were busy saving Mom.
Emma, from now on, anything at all, you tell me. No matter how small, no matter how tired I am, I'd rather lose 2 hours of sleep than find out 3 years later that someone slapped my daughter.
You are my line in the sand. Nobody crosses that line, no matter who they are.
I nodded in the dark. I didn't say anything, because I knew he could hear my silence, that quiet that said, I get it. Reached across the center counter and took my hand. His palm was warm, bigger than mine, with thin calluses on his fingertip from years of flipping through files. We sat there, in the quiet of that park lot, the streetlight seeping through the windshield, spilling evenly across our hands. We got home. The living room light was still on, but Chloe's things were gone. Her makeup bag, her magazine, the book she'd left on my dad's nightstand, all gone. On the coffee table sat a key, silver, with a tiny pink pom-pom keychain attached. She'd left it behind. My dad bent down, picked it up, stared at it for 2 seconds, then opened a drawer and dropped it in. The drawer closed with a soft click.
I'm changing the locks tomorrow.
Okay. That night I lay in bed, my phone on the pillow next to me. I opened the hidden folder and stared at that file, 1012, for a long time. Then I pressed and held it. A pop-up appeared. Delete file? My thumb hovered over yes for a long while. In the end, I backed out. I left the file there, didn't delete it, didn't open it again. The moon was bright outside. The floor was covered in a thin layer of frosty white light. I turned over and buried my face in the pillow. For the first time since Mom left, I fell asleep without any words left unsaid. Saturday morning, I came downstairs. The house was quiet, that kind of quiet that's hollow and echoing, like a room catching its breath after a storm of noise. No trace of Chloe's perfume, no rustle of her flipping through magazines on the couch. My dad was sitting at the table with a cup of coffee that had gone cold. He was wearing that old gray sweater, the one Mom had knitted when she was still here, with the cuffs palled and the elbows worn thin. He wasn't wearing that light blue shirt. Morning. I pulled out a chair and sat down. The scrape of its legs against the tile echoed through the empty kitchen.
Emma, I couldn't sleep last night. I sat up from 2 till 4, thinking a lot of things through. I can't be with someone who hurt my daughter, no matter what she says, what she does. You're my only family. She's not.
Did you talk to her?
Yeah. She cried on the phone. But those tears aren't yours to catch, so she won't be coming back here.
I looked down at the table. There was a shallow knife mark, about 2 centimeters long, from when Mom used to cut lemons. The mark had worn smooth, its edges no longer sharp, like time had sanded it into the wood. Dad, are you sad?
A little, but not as much as knowing you were bullied. What do you want for breakfast? Pancakes?
I nodded. He started cracking eggs, pouring flour, heating the pan. His movements weren't as smooth as usual. He spilled a little flour on the counter and brushed it off with his fingers, but the pancake still made it to me. 2 blueberries on top, arranged like eyes, the little trick he used to do when I was a kid to get me to eat. Underneath, a curved line of maple syrup, like a smiling mouth. I picked up my fork, and I smiled. Dad.
Yeah?
Your pancakes are still at the same level as back then.
Is that a compliment or an insult?
A compliment. 'Cause some things haven't changed. He paused, then bent down, went back to wiping the counter. His shoulders sank slightly, like he'd just set down something incredibly heavy. I didn't ask him, "Are you gonna see anyone else?" Because I knew he needed time. And I'd sit right here and finish this plate of pancakes for him. One day at school, I thought the Chloe thing was over, but she was waiting for me in the parking lot. She was wearing a long black trench coat, her hair pulled back so tight, it looked like she'd gathered all her anxiety into one neat bun. Emma, we need to talk. There's nothing to talk about. You ruined my life! I stopped. The wind passed between us, lifting her coat hem and letting it fall. I turned around to face her. I ruined your life? 3 years ago, when you slapped me, did you think about my life? Threw my uniform in the trash, did you think about my life? When you stood behind the gym and said, "Your mom's practically dead and you're still coming about my life"? My voice was flat when I said it, like I was stating old news I'd already digested 100 times, because I didn't need anger anymore. I had my dad. I had myself. And I had a whole new resolve, never to let anyone cross my line again. She bit her lower lip. Her eyes were wet, not with sadness, with that angry, defiant kind of tears, like a spring pressed to its limit. I just wanted to be with your dad. I didn't hurt you. It hurt me. For 3 years, every single day. Now you finally got to sit on my couch, but those 3 years didn't disappear. They just finally got seen. Her mouth opened. Wind blew strands of hair across her face. She rushed them back. No words came out. Chloe, just go. Don't come find me again. And don't come find my dad either. I turned and headed toward the school building. After a few steps, I heard her say something low behind him. Sorry. I didn't look back. The wind carried it away. All I caught was the tail end of the word sorry. I hitched my backpack strap higher and kept walking. My phone was still in my uniform pocket. The recording was still there, but I didn't replay it. I didn't need to. Word spread faster than I expected. Chloe disappeared from my dad's company's vendor list. Her PR firm assigned a new account manager. In his office group chat, someone said, "Richard, that PRO broke up." Someone else asked, "Was it his daughter's doing?" Nobody replied. I didn't explain myself. I didn't have to. Your dad actually broke up with her? Yeah. Did you play the recording? No. Why? You'd been holding it in for 3 years. I picked out the cherry tomatoes from my salad and set them aside. They were the hothouse kind, thick-skinned, hard, tasteless. Because my dad believed me. That's all I needed. I don't care if anyone else believes me or not. Emma, you seem different. Different how? You used to hang your head when people picked on you. Now you hold it up. I thought about it, 'cause someone told me I'm his line in the sand. You know what that feels like? It means you know you don't have to carry it all by yourself anymore. Then you don't have to carry it alone anymore either. I've got your back. I went back to my salad. All the tomatoes were gone, but the lettuce was fresh and crisped. I figured I could finish the whole thing. Dad changed the locks. The new one was gold, different from the old silver one with deeper teeth on the key. He handed the new key with a little cat keychain on it, a yellow tabby with tiny black bead eyes and a perky tail.
Your mom used to say if you put something noticeable on your key, you're less likely to lose it. I've always remembered that.
I took the key and flipped the keychain with my fingers. I drew you a cat once back then. You said it didn't look like one.
Back and you said it was a leopard. Leopards have spots, you drew stripes.
We stood in the doorway, the autumn morning sun slanting in, falling at both our feet, the little cat keychain in his palm, a tiny chip of paint missing from its ear tip.
From now on, whenever you come home, this door is always open.
That afternoon I sat in the living room drawing. Not homework, just a sketch. I drew him standing at the kitchen sink washing dishes, his back's in hot water, the outline of his shoulder blades showing through that gray sweater.
Are you drawing me?
Yep.
Does it look good? Is my hair really that thin?
I laughed, a little more than I drew.
Keep it, he said. We'll frame it someday.
That night I lay in bed tossing and turning. I unlocked my phone into that folder, the file called 1012. I stared at it for a long time. Then I pressed and held it. The prompt appeared. I tapped yes. The screen flickered. The file was gone. I didn't need it anymore, because when someone believes you, you don't have to hold up proof just to live. I locked the screen and set the phone on the pillow next to me. The moon was still bright. I closed my eyes, and this time I didn't glance back at that empty folder. Chloe switched to a different PR firm. Her new office was in another building downtown, 6 blocks away from my dad's practice. I heard she'd moved to a tiny apartment in the east side, with rent cheaper than our garage. Leah told me all this while I was sharpening pencils in the art room. The lead snapped, and curls of wood shavings fell into the trash can, one coil after another. She's been asking around about your family, Leah said. Let her ask. There's nothing to hide anymore. I kept sharpening. The tip got finer, revealing fresh, darker grat's eye. That afternoon after school, I saw her again at the gate. She didn't come close. Stood about 3 meters outside the iron fence. She was in a camel-colored trench coat, hair down, looking thinner than last time. She didn't wave, didn't speak. Just stood there, like a tree trying to decide whether to drop all its leaves. I stopped. 3 meters apart, I looked at her. What do you want to say? She's quiet for a few seconds, head down, staring at her own toes. Those same nude strappy heels, the price tag on the soles was long gone now. Emma, that day I slapped you. She stopped, her breath fogged in the cold air, then dissipated. I'm sorry. Those 3 words came out of her mouth like a pebble dropped into a very deep well. It took forever to hear the faint, muffled echo. What did you say? She finally looked up. Not because of your dad, because of what I did that day. I've thought about it so many times since, why I did it, and the answer is no reason. I just wanted to. So I'm telling you I'm sorry. Are you telling me this to get me to help you fix something? No. I just felt that night at the restaurant, you didn't play the recording. You didn't drag everyone into it. You didn't destroy me. So I figured I owe you a real apology. The wind blew between us, picking up a few dead leaves, sending them tumbling down the sidewalk. I looked at her. Her eyes were red, but she wasn't crying. She stood there in the wind, her coat belt flapping up and then falling back down. I heard you, I said. No, it's okay, because not all wounds get erased by one sentence. But I let her know. I heard her. She nodded. Then she turned and walked away. This time she moved slowly and didn't look back. I stood there for a few seconds, watching until she turned the corner and disappeared. Then I turned and walked back through the school gate. The sun was nice. I looked down at my shadow, stretched long by the afternoon sun. I tucked that sorry into a faraway place, Not forgotten, not close. I just knew that she'd finally taste what it was like to bow her head. My dad started seeing a therapist. His own choice. He said, I need to learn how to say goodbye to the past properly, or I'll be too scared to move forward. I went with him the first time. The waiting room had old magazines with curled covers. I flipped through a home design magazine, went 20 pages without remembering a single picture. He sat next to me, tapping his fingers on his knees in alternating patterns. 3 taps left, switch to right, over and over.
Wait out here for 40 minutes.
Okay. 40 minutes later, he came out. His eyes were a little red, but not swollen. His shoulders sat lower than when he'd gone in, more like his old self. How was it?
I tend to use protecting you as a substitute for the part of me that's afraid to love again. I think she's right.
I stood up and walked with him to the parking lot. He didn't play music on the drive, but he didn't stay silent either.
He told me, she suggested I try journaling.
What did you write?
1 sentence. I'm a single father, but I think my daughter is the one teaching me.
I sat in the passenger seat, staring out the window. The trees along the road were shedding leaves. Golden sycamore leaves carpet half the street, crunching dryly under the tires. Autumn had arrived. The winter in our house was finally over. My dad started seeing a therapist. His own choice. He said, I need to learn how to say goodbye to the past properly, or I'll be too scared to move forward. I went with him the first time. The waiting room had old magazines with curled covers. I flipped through a home design magazine, went 20 pages without remembering a single picture. He sat next to me, tapping his fingers on his knees in alternating patterns. 3 taps left, switch to right, over and over.
Wait out here for 40 minutes.
Okay. 40 minutes later, he came out. His eyes were a little red, but not swollen. His shoulders sat lower than when he'd gone in, more like his old self. How was it?
I tend to use protecting you as a substitute for the part of me that's afraid to love again. I think she's right.
I stood up and walked with him to the parking lot. He didn't play music on the drive, but he didn't stay silent either.
He told me, she suggested I try journaling.
What did you write?
1 sentence. I'm a single father, but I think my daughter is the one teaching me.
I sat in the passenger seat, staring out the window. The trees along the road were shedding leaves. Golden sycamore leaves carpet half the street, crunching dryly under the tires. Autumn had arrived. The winter in our house was finally over.
I forgave the fact that she's gone now. Not what she did.
Same, I said. I deleted the recording. But I didn't forgive those 3 years. I just don't need them anymore. He set down the knife and wiped his eyes with his shirt sleeve. That's enough. That night we sat in the living room watching an old movie, Mom's favorite romantic film from over 20 years ago, with that soft grainy quality to the picture. About halfway through, my dad started snoring, his head tilted back against the sofa, mouth slightly open, breathing steady. I didn't wake him. I turned the volume down 1 notch, curled up at the other end of the couch, and kept watching. The screen light played across his face, deepening the wrinkles around his eyes. Those wrinkles weren't from bitterness. They were the lines of exhaustion slow smoothing out. I sat there and thought, this house had lost 2 people, but it had aimed something that wouldn't fall.